A new AEW faction has debuted. There's loads of them now. I saw a comment on Reddit that said it was like playing out a dialogue between AEW management and Cody. They said, "How many factions do you want, Cody?" And Cody's reply, "Yes." I'm Ollie Davis. This is Luke Owen. Welcome to the AEW Dynamite review edition of the WrestleTalk podcast, the AEW Revolution post-show edition, no less. Please have a thumbs up party. Leave a comment down below with what you thought of this episode. Subscribe and get in your super chats, because we'll be getting to those throughout the show. But first off,
do you want to plug this first?
Oh, and WrestleTalk Live on March 16th in London. We will be doing a live version of this show, a live podcast, and then putting on a wrestling card of some of our favourite promotions and wrestlers in the UK. Please come out and support us. Get your tickets at WrestleTalkLive.com.
You get to see these chaps here, although embarrassingly, I'm wearing the same shirt there as I am here. It's my limited wardrobe.
So last night we had Pac versus Chuck Taylor off the back of the fantastic Match of the Year candidate, Pac and Orange Cassidy. Of course, Chuck Taylor being one of the members of the Best Friends. Chuck Taylor is amazing. I remember 10 years ago first becoming familiar with him because it gets shared around a lot as viral clips. He would shout at kids and make them cry in the audience, which I took great delight in. He's sort of been the least focused on of the whole Best Friends act.
Yeah, because Trent has had a fair number of singles matches. And that was the story they had here, is that Pac's beaten Trent, he's beaten Cassidy, and now he's going to go and face Chuck next. And yeah, you're right, Trent's had quite a few singles matches. Orange Cassidy always had that big singles match at Revolution. And this is Chucky T's first go at a first bite of the apple.
Yeah, and I thought he excelled. I thought this was a really, really good match. Pac worked him over for the majority, but then he hit the awful weird thing. It's like a reverse pile driver Styles clash.
Oh yeah, like the gory bomb driver.
Yeah.
Does,
Loved it. And that really, that was a great near fall. For a moment you thought Chuck was going to win. Anyway, off the back of that, Chuck does a moonsault, Pac rolls out the way, locks in the brutalizer for the verbal submission.
And I've really got to give a shout out to JR in this during the commentary, because he was putting over that Chuck was taking too much time. Chuck wrestled this match like he was a tag guy. He was and actually the commentary was doing a really good job of being like, tag guys, you get less money when you win because you've got to split the purse. But they've got to try and establish themselves as singles guys as well as tag guys. But there was a moment when Trent got a drop kick in, but he took too much time. And like JR was almost saying, he's looking almost to the corner to get a tag because that is what his natural reaction is to do next. And that's what allowed Pac to take over again.
I think it's a directive backstage to start mentioning money.
100%
and purses.
Yep.
And if you win, you get money.
Yep.
It's all over the show now, and I love it. I think it brings so much more to it.
Yeah, it was a big part of Cody's promo when Jake came out. Spoilers for later in the show.
Anyway, so Pac wins the match, as he should have, really. And he's sort of flexing. Trent squares off with Pac, but then Orange Cassidy moves him aside. Nuh-uh, Orange is going to get the big stare down here. But then the Lucha Bros run in and super kick his head off.
Yeah, so this follows on from what they did at Revolution, where they came down to attack Trent and Chuck Taylor around ringside during the Pac Cassidy match.
It looked like they actually squashed an orange between their feet. It was an awful looking stereo super kick. And then this new trio, beat up this Best Friends trio. Pac grabs the mic. Oh yeah, we're a faction now, and we're called Death Triangle.
Yeah.
Deal with it.
I love the, you did this to yourselves, AEW. Yeah, you made us do this.
Yeah, he's going to go for all, everyone on the roster.
Nobody is safe.
So
Death Triangle.
I guess the motivation is that Pac feels disgruntled by AEW management. He keeps on beating people, but then he's not given those title opportunities. But, fairly, Moxley did beat him on the boat. Same with the Lucha Bros. They have got a very good win-loss record, but they're not getting any title shots.
Well, they had one a couple of weeks ago, but they got beat by them. But I think for them, it's just since All Out, they haven't really had a lot of direction. They've just been proving that they're the best, but just sort of coming up short. And with Pac, you're absolutely right, because he had that number one contenders match with Moxley. But in his mind, he shouldn't have had to have that match, because Moxley should have been taken to the hospital and he should have been declared the winner of that tournament. So I've really enjoyed Pac's character because it's been so wonderfully consistent from. It may be one of the few consistent characters we've had since the launch of Dynamite. Actually, since the inception of this company.
Yeah.
Like going back from January last year through to March now, it is the same character and it's the same trajectory of this pissed off Geordie that's just like, I'm denied my chances, I'm denied these opportunities. And now, as Death Triangle.
Death Triangle! How do you make, they're all going to do a bit of the thing.
Yeah.
Death Triangle.
Death Triangle.
So I heard him say Death Triangle, and I was immediately, yes, please.
Yeah, because it's got death in the title.
We got into the office, and Blompier, Datsun, Pete, they're all like... And Laurie, they're like, Death Triangle, that's a bit lame. And Andy said to us, if WWE called a faction Death Triangle, you would be making fun of them. I was like, no, I wouldn't.
It's a cool name.
It's a cool name. We make fun of WWE have some awful names. Viking Experience, Kabuki Warriors.
Those are the names to make fun of.
Like, we don't really make fun of normal names.
But, if you were to argue the AEW bias thing, I thought Nightmare Collective was an awful name.
And it's too tied into, like, Dark Order.
Yeah.
Death Triangle. Well, there is some weird crossover with all the heels. So you could almost do a Kevin Bacon separation thing. Death Triangle. Inner Circle. Or maybe you start from Inner Circle. Inner Circle, Death Triangle, Dark Order, because Dark is kind of like a death.
Yeah.
Order's like a triangle. Nightmare Collective.
Well, there was also, like, during Jake's promo, he said, I'm bringing a dark one. I'm like, mate, we don't need any more spooky factions. Pack it in, mate. We've just got rid of one spooky faction because we had one too many. Let's not even that up again.
So they pose there, and they've got Orange Cassidy's head, and Pentagon is just biting his ear.
Yeah.
Terrifying. Cool faction. Really cool faction.
Yeah, really cool trio.
And I like the name. However, and this might be nitpicking because I said the same thing about the Inner Circle in their inception, it's almost a shame that it's come to this because I feel like they should be distinct units. And I can't help but feel that Pac is with them to be the mouthpiece.
Yeah, that could very well be.
And that's, I was against Paige and the Kabuki Warriors for that reason as well. I think the Lucha Bros, if Pac does all the promo work, I'm not going to like this.
Yeah, I know. I can certainly see what you're saying there. I think I would also be, I'd be more on board with this trio. Because actually, I really like this trio. I'm not saying I'm down on it, but I think I'd be more on board if, when you said Lucha Brothers haven't had their tag title shots, if they hadn't have had those shots, this group would make even more sense as rather than just being like, let's just put these three together. But I think it is more, it's like you can put these three together now and establish them as a group because next year on the Jericho Cruise, they're going to be doing the 6-man title tournament.
Yeah.
So it almost feels like we're putting this team together now. So when it comes to the trios titles later, it makes sense that they're put together as a threesome as opposed to just being sort of like thrown together at the last minute.
Yeah. Well, let's see what you guys think in the super chats. Noah Fortner, what shape-themed faction will we get next?
It's got to be a square next, surely.
Squares are boring.
What, squared circle?
A pentagram.
A pentagon.
That's demonic, isn't it?
Yeah.
Ooh. Dodecahedron?
A dodecahedron, yeah.
Is that 12?
I think so. That's what the Crystal Maze was, wasn't it?
Matthew Robinson, this is how you debut a new faction. Just slowly have it take effect with established talent. # Death Triangle.
Yeah, I'd be very curious to see what people do think of the name. Because as I said, it has been, I'd say it was split in the office, but that would mean there was more than 2 people that like the name. Actually, it's overwhelmingly in the not liking it actually in our office. Let's see what else is being set up in the chat, though. We've got Michael Kingsley talking about a triple powerbomb through a table for Moxley. Karma at its finest.
Yes. Well, Karma... Yeah, I guess it is kind of Karma. I saw that more as evil, snarky deeds by the Inner Circle.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. We've had suggestions: the Orton Oblong, 4 Corners of Doom, the Hexagon of Dumb, a Rhombus from Nate Dropser,
Rhombus,
the Gritty Pentagram.
Keep them coming in.
Keep them coming in. Matthew Robinson, OMG, love John Moxley talk about professional wrestling. Take that, Vince.
Yeah, that was quite cathartic. It's not so big as 10 years ago when saying just the words wrestling on WWE TV. I remember when Punk did it in his pipe bomb.
That was a big thing. But like professional wrestling said quite a lot in WWE these days.
Yeah, it's not as banned as it used to be. But it was still, it wasn't so much the words, it was the spirit and the ethos of professional wrestling.
Yeah.
And this style of adult entertainment, which it's enormously good. It was John Mox's opening promo where he said that.
We'll do a couple more. Christian Baltimore, Hangman's buckshot lariat is a thing of beauty.
I mean, unless I'm mistaken, it's one of those things where I'm like, I'm surprised it's not been done before.
Yeah.
It makes so much sense.
Yeah. It is cool. Yeah. I really, really like it. And lastly, Cannon Mill, Proper Bill, I really don't like Hager's hug you to death finisher. Yeah,
me neither.
I was just going to say, me neither, mate. Like, I haven't checked the comments on today's video, but I did want to stress in there, look, I know it's a legit MMA move, but it doesn't look very impressive. Like, visually, it's not the most dynamic move. It's not like the Taz mission was a legit chokehold, but it looked cool. Because you've got people flailing around, you can drag them to the floor, you can grab them in a leg vine and things like that. This is just, let's stand here. It looks like a rest hold.
The reversal of the figure four doesn't make any sense, but it looks cool.
There you go. Absolutely. And you know what? Wrestling's not real. So sometimes it doesn't always have to look real.
Irish whips.
Exactly.
The show opened with a recap of Revolution. Just what an incredible show. It was nice to relive it in those little edited down moments. And it opened with Justin Roberts in the ring for
Jon Moxley.
So freaking cool. Moxley comes through the crowd, takes his time, soaks it up. That swagger with the belt. I love the guy. I always liked Dean Ambrose. Always liked him. But there was something that didn't quite connect with me. And this run in AEW has just, it's such a demonstration of the sort of talent that is being wasted elsewhere.
This was the Dean Ambrose that we thought we were going to get when the Shield first broke up. And when the Shield first broke up, we did sort of get this Dean. And there were times when people were like, I remember listening to the Wrestling Observer radio and everyone talking ad nauseum about Dean's your guy. Like, you can push Roman to the moon, but it's not connecting. Seth's a really good second choice, but Dean is your guy. Like, you should be going with Dean. And he was the guy that the fans really wanted, but he was the third wheel of that group. He was going nowhere. This is the Dean that we eventually got, because what Dean became in WWE was Wacky Dean. Yeah. And Wacky Dean was what turned fans off against him. Getting shots in your butt, Dean. Now we got this Jon Moxley. This feels like what Dean wanted to be, or what he wanted the Dean character to be way back when.
Also, shout out to the Dance Chopper sign.
Yep.
In the third row.
Indeed, and during this entrance, we also saw Rob Steiner Recliner, Patreon pledge hammer. Oh. He sent us a picture of himself wearing his Support WrestleTalk t-shirt.
Thank you so much, Rob Steiner Recliner.
Which was very, very cool.
People have posted your photo a lot to us. Thank you. There's a you deserve it chant from the crowd to John.
For the Dance Chopper side?
Yes, yeah. And there's a huge cut over his right eyebrow. It is a shame that post pay-per-views are look at my new gnarly scar.
Yeah.
But I do like it.
I was going to say, because I noticed this with Jericho as well at Revolution. You've got Cody with his scar following Full Gear. You've got Jericho's got a new scar from that episode of Dynamite where Moxley headbutted him. Now Moxley's got a scar. I'm like, lads, calm down.
And what happens now is Moxley essentially cuts the promo that he was supposed to cut.
Yeah.
After Revolution.
Completely.
Because he was half concussed and he just said the same thing over and over again. It was fun, it was lovely, it was very natural, but here is what I imagine he meant to say, which was AEW has brought professional wrestling back.
And you all brought professional wrestling back.
And it cut to people in the crowd. And there was this one guy, quite a few people, who were just like screaming, like, yes!
Yeah.
And yeah.
Yep.
That's the sort of emotion that he awakens in people.
It's the emotion that I always see from you during an Ilya Dragunov match.
Yeah. It connects to something a little bit primal. It bypasses all my... Because I'm quite self-conscious, I would say. But when something bypasses that, like a Dragunov, or when Keith Lee's awesome, or when Jon Moxley walks out, it's just like, no, you're an animal. Ah!
But eventually the Inner Circle came out. Moxley tells the crowd to shut their ass. And he said, but I also love as well that, because they just came out onto the ramp, but AEW want their fans to enjoy themselves. So they played his entrance music up until the chorus, which was way too long, because it was just the Inner Circle standing there for quite some time, just going like, yeah, Moxley. We'll get you eventually. How much longer left of the song? Yeah. So the crowd could sing along, so they could do their chorus, and then go, hey, we got to sing the chorus. And then Jericho got to cut his promo, where he said that he is still Le Champion, and the Moxley era sucks ass. To which the crowd responded with, you suck ass. That was really great.
Yeah, and he was having so much fun with the crowd. The crowd were having fun back. It's so difficult to boo Jericho, because he's so good, and you almost start respecting how good he is. But the AEW fans have been so well behaved, so they will boo the people you meant to boo, and then that becomes fun. And Jericho played it off perfectly, and he had this fantastic motivation of why Moxley is in the wrong.
Yeah,
Jericho shouldn't have lost the title because Moxley is a liar.
You lied to me.
He lied about having an injured eye. So Jericho trained for 3 months for a guy with one eye. That's not behavior befitting of a champion.
Yeah, in reference to Moxley lying.
And he says all this, straight-faced, character-wise, not even realizing the hypocrisy of what he's saying. But that's what's happened. You know, he's been a terrible, cheating, lying champion, relying on his Inner Circle cronies forever.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
Quickly, just shout out to Jade Star for the Trapezium of Terror.
Nice.
But my new favourite one is from Ben Est, the Sinister Cylinder.
Oh, is that just one guy? One very tall, lanky guy. So Jericho then says, we're putting the whole roster on notice, and we're starting with Moxley, because there's a main event later with me and Sammy, and they hug.
Yeah, Jericho says the Inner Circle are now a hit squad. And putting a warning out to everyone, but says, if I lose this tag match tonight, I will go on leave of absence from AEW for 30 days. You know what? I'll even go on leave of absence for 60 days, which really set up everyone to go like, well, he's going on the tour. So, of course, they're losing in the main events.
A brilliant way
swerve.
To work us.
Yeah,
people
really
like us and people like you who read the internet, which is actually everyone these days, but really obsessively read about wrestling using the internet, because one of the reasons that Jericho supposedly lost the title was because he is going on tour. Now, the immediate tour doesn't have any Tuesdays or Wednesdays booked.
Yeah.
Meltzer actually said that it's the summer tour that's the issue.
Yeah.
Because that's abroad, but that hasn't been advertised yet. When that starts to get advertised, that's when people will know it's a spoiler for Double or Nothing too. So yeah, it actually is still true, but it was such a good way of setting that up there. But it fooled me.
Yeah, I checked the WrestleTalk Twitter this morning, and when he made that announcement, the tweet that we got was like, oh yeah, so when's that tour starting again then?
Yeah.
It really, exactly, it really got back, oh, well, I think I know how this, push your glass up, so I think I know how this main event's going.
And it's so
I was one of them.
Yeah, it's so refreshing to be, again, we always say it, zigged when you think they're going to zag.
Yeah.
I love it. JR then said, it's Slobberknocker time. This is his thing now.
There was a sign for Slobberknocker as well.
At the start, they run down the card after the opening of the show, and then JR says, well, now it's Slobberknocker time before the first match. Freaking love it.
Yeah. Well, I actually really enjoyed this. We had an 8-man tag of the SCU with Colt Cabana versus the Dark Order, Uno, Grayson, Silver, and Reynolds. And we had JR talking very openly here about how he doesn't even believe the Exalted One is real, which I thought was a really nice thing. That's his commentators speculating. They are like, well, we've not seen a hide or hair of this person, he or she. I don't think it's real. I think it could be Uno. Like we don't even know if it's a real person. This could be just mind games from them. So I thought it was a nice little story wrinkle there. But they cut to some of the crowd. Was Kristen Bell in this audience? They cut to a woman in the crowd who looked exactly like Kristen Bell, but they never made reference to it.
They usually would.
But that's what it
unless
makes me
it's
think.
Raven.
Yeah. So I was just like, is that Kristen Bell? Anyway, I thought this was a fun match.
So on the Dark Order leader stuff, I agree this was a fun match. You can see my first note. I love Colt Cabana. He's fantastic.
What a presence.
So good. And he's so much better than this as well. Like, this isn't the only thing Cabana can do. I really hope he gets to do more stuff in the ring and as a character. But I don't know where the real and kayfabe lines are blurred, because AEW do that a lot. So then to not bring up Matt Hardy at all is off to me. If you're sitting there as commentators speculating about who the leader of the Dark Order is, and to not reference what your own social media account's been doing, the episode of Free the Delete that went up 4 hours before this show with the Young Bucks turning up at the end. I don't get when the confines of the AEW world stop. So that did jar with me slightly. And you know what? I think it might have been a mistake.
It was very noticeable that there was no Matt Hardy references on this show, or Lance Archer. And I went back and I checked, because I was under the impression that Lance was going to be on this show.
He was, advertised, yeah.
Well, I went back, he wasn't advertised for the show, because I was so sure that he was. Yeah. I was like, that's quite bad, that's false advertising. So I went back and watched it, and what they said was, that's what we've got for next week. Also, big news, Lance Archer has joined AEW, and we will have more details on that next week. So I was expecting like a video package for him for something, or like I would have expected a video package. But I did go back and check, because I thought, like you, I think like a lot of people, that he was going to be on this show. I think it's because it was in that next week package that they do towards the end of the show.
Yeah, but by the by, this was a really good match. I've sort of been, I love Stu Grayson, Evil Uno. I haven't quite got yet, but it's like AEW can do no wrong with me at the moment. I finally get Darby Allin after the weekend. He's my fave now. And what a show he had here. But Evil Uno as well. Maybe it's because I'm getting a chance to properly see him wrestle in an actually good storyline. He's just so smart. He's just always in there, cheating. Yeah. I love it.
I really enjoyed this as an 8-man tag. Very, very fun. Everyone ran wild. Everyone did dives. Colt hit the Chicago skyline for the win. Good stuff.
With a gorgeous pinning combination. Yeah. That Superman pin. It's beautiful.
The only, if I was to be hypercritical of this, it's big talk from the Dark Order to keep talking about people losing, and then you look at their record, and they are losers currently.
Uno's very angry afterwards. He says the Exalted One is going to be furious.
Yeah, heads will roll.
Then they ran a recap package of the tag team match from Revolution.
I was waiting for you to appear in this.
Like a trailer. Yeah. It had quotes from Brian Alvarez, Wade Keller, Justin Barrasso, and Dave Meltzer. Fair play for Alvarez, Keller, and Meltzer. It's Sports Illustrated, I guess. You want to have Barrasso's name on there. But it was great.
Yeah, it's really, really cool.
It really made that feel like a piece of art, like a big blockbuster movie. Or no, not a blockbuster movie, but like it was for your consideration for the Oscars.
They are putting it over hard as like the best tag match of all time.
It's the best one I've seen.
I mean, I've got to agree completely.
It's the best one JR's seen too, because he keeps talking about it. And I love it. It just cut from that video package to JR just going, it was the best thing.
And knowing that how JR has been on AEW commentary, I do believe him. Because if it was rubbish or it wasn't that good, he'd just go like, that's all right.
Yeah.
You can pay me all you want, but I will just say it was fine. But Britt Baker was out on commentary next for the Big Swole versus Leva Bates match. Very quick Big Swole one.
Yes.
This was not the first step towards Double or Nothing I was hoping for.
Someone must have the flu.
So we got taken to task last week a little bit because we criticized AEW for not promoting the Nyla Rose Chris Statlander match. And a lot of people messaged us. We had some of our own website writers message us being like, guys, Statlander had the flu. That's why she wasn't on the show. And so our argument, or your first comment was, what's FLU? Is that some indie promotion? Very, very clever. But our argument is, video package. Nyla Rose could have cut a promo. You could have done anything. Statlander didn't need to be there. Cody wasn't on the show. He got a video package.
Yeah. It's getting to the point now where you either do this better or you're just like New Japan and you don't have a women's division.
There it is.
Because You're treating this women's division like how WWE treat cruiserweights.
Yeah. Or they treated their women's division 10 years ago.
Yeah. Well, that's they're not sexualizing or anything.
No, but they are treating it with the same level of like disdain of like because Vince McMahon's whole deal was we've got to put a match on the card because otherwise people complain if we don't.
Disdain feels strong. It's more just like they don't care.
Yeah.
And that's
it's indifference.
Yeah, it's indifference. And they like, well, but we, it's what we can't not. So here's a match.
Yeah.
And yeah,
it's a bit like how Ring of Honor treated their women's division when they were like they made this sort of big song and dance. We're going to do Women of Honor. Then they couldn't sign any names, so then they were like, yeah, well, it's there. We'll still sort of do it.
Maybe all of their hype and pomp and circumstance when AEW first launched and Brandy Rhodes said we're going to have the best women's division in the world was because they thought they could sign more people, and a lot of those women just went to WWE instead.
Yeah.
So you've got, but you've got talent. Like I really like Big Swole. I think she's got something. She's green,
yeah.
But Statlander's gotten over. Shanna, I love Sheeta. Sheeta's my favorite.
Yeah.
Nyla Rose, champion. Rio's fantastic.
Yuka Sakazaki, like they've
got
Britt
Baker has found her character now.
If you go onto AEW's website and you look at their women's roster, you've actually got quite a stacked roster there that you could do something with. But it's like when you come to these booking meetings, this is almost like, we spent so much time doing what we're doing for the main event. What's Moxley doing? What's Jericho doing? What's the Young Bucks are doing? That by the time you get to the women's division, it's like, we haven't got time. We've only got 5 minutes left of this meeting. I guess we'll just put Big Swole and Leva Bates out there for a quick match.
Yeah, so if you take the women's stuff out of this, like the controversy, it's a 5 out of 5 episode for me. I thought this was an extraordinary episode. But because of how just sort of an afterthought they're making the women's division, and it's been going on for so long now, I've got to make it a 4 out of 5, which is a shame because I loved the rest of the episode so much.
Yeah, it was one line in my review. This because the company put so much focus on other stuff that you also then in your sort of recap also have to put focus on that same stuff. Like what else was there for me to say about she was dressed like Storm? Like that's pretty much the only extra thing you could say.
After this, we had Cody come out for a babyface promo, and the crowd just loved him.
Oh my God, this crowd was so hot for Cody Rhodes.
A lot of brothers.
A lot of brothers
like this guy.
A lot of brothers
Cody's
like,
brothers.
That tattoo's not great, mate.
Well, I don't hate the tattoo.
I like the tattoo. I just think it's a bad placement.
But he sort of says he's gone through the personal and the professional. He brought up the purse and the sort of money element to wins and losses. And he says that MJF beat him, come out and...
Well, I
didn't quite understand.
Well, what he was asking was, he was like, I want you to look me in the eyes and tell me that you beat me fair and square. Because obviously he knows that he cheated. Yeah. So he wants him to almost like step up, be a man, nut up or shut up, just come out here and tell me what you did. Like, admit to me. But he didn't get MJF. Instead, he got the shocking DDP Yoga walking adverts, Jake the Snake Roberts. Walking a key word there, because without that DDP Yoga, I don't think he would be walking or even be with us today. But thankfully he is, because Jake the Snake Roberts, God bless his heart, he looks like Mr. Burns has told him to shave his sideburns, and he cut this incredible promo. Because he just comes out like, hey man, I'm not here to praise you, I'm here to slay you. And he just had all of these, it's like backstage he thought of 20 lines and then just picked the 6 best ones.
We're looking at arguably the greatest promo of all time. The greatest talker in the history of wrestling.
Yeah.
Paul Heyman's fantastic. CM Punk's amazing. But it's probably Jake the Snake. Roddy Piper.
Yeah.
Jake the Snake is number 1.
What a promo he is.
And he's, it's a risk employing him. Apparently he's been okay for a couple of years, but
it's been clean, yeah.
It's always a concern because he has screwed up so many times.
Yeah.
And so many times where if it does happen again, it's like, well, it's your fault, AEW.
Yeah.
But I've got my fingers crossed because I think we all love him. We've all seen Wrestling with Shadow.
The Resurrection of Jake the Snake.
Resurrection of Jake.
He was in Wrestling with Shadows as well, but it was the Resurrection was like the big DDP one, the comeback. Not Wrestling Shadows, rather Beyond the Mat.
Beyond the Mat, that's it.
Wrestling Shadows.
Beyond the
Brett
Mat,
one.
where he reunites with his daughter and everything, and
Yeah.
he goes into he's had that horrible life, and you can understand why the way he is the way he is.
It is absolutely remarkable to look at Jake the Snake here and then rewind 20 years ago and see him at Heroes of Wrestling. And the absolute embarrassment, the worst wrestling match, or one, I mean, that whole show is just full of like the worst matches you've ever seen. But he was involved in one of the most awkward, horrible wrestling matches I've ever seen in my life. You fast forward 20 years now, he looks like he's 20 years younger than he was in that point there. He just looks like he's absolutely incredible shape. And yet, it's just like, I spent 20 years getting clean. I'm not here to play nice. And he just had great, called Arn Anderson a one-trick pony.
Yeah.
Got a dark one coming. What a snake wants, a snake takes. I don't want the whole pie, I just want your share.
I love that bit.
But my favorite, the killer line at the end of this, he said, I was always told you never turn your back on someone you respect or you're afraid of. And he tosses the mic and turns his back and walks away from Cody. And the crowd go, oh.
That's a mic drop. Because it's coming from Jake, this sort of older, respected ring psychology master, it just felt like you destroyed Cody.
Yeah.
And it's like, while the Bucks and Omega and Paige are like, we're going to do all these moves, I feel like Cody's like, so all my old 80s wrestling toys, I want to play with them.
Yeah.
And this is the latest one he's brought back out. I have no problem with it.
No.
Imagine, you're Cody. You're managed by Arn Anderson. You're in a feud with Jake the Snake. So Jake teased that he's going to debut someone to go against Cody. It's not going to be Jake wrestling. So the speculation is Brody Lee, the former Luke Harper. Because
he's got stuff in, he called Cody Caesar in the promos. And like Caesar, if I'm getting all this correct, was thwarted by the Ides of March. And March 15th is that date.
Wow.
And that's when they're in Rochester, New York.
That's dense.
So like if AEW are going that deep into it to be like, can you put all these pieces of the puzzle together? Like that's telegraph cryptic crosswords sort of levels of stuff.
Do you want to hear my sort of really in-depth clue? He had the same hair as Lance Archer.
They both got told by Mr. Burns to shave their sideburns.
So Lance Archer tweeted actually earlier in the day that he's going to go on a Killing the Elite rampage, which is a really cool, story arc for a comic book series. If AEW is this big comic book that I like to read, like Lance Archer as the new supervillain. I'm going to kill the Elite. I'm going to run through Cody. Boom, boom, boom. So maybe that's it.
Yeah.
If it's another new person going against Cody, I can't see Cody not putting them over.
Yeah.
I don't think Cody needs any more losses.
I almost feel like he thinks that's his role now. Like, whereas, do you remember, last year, they all thought that was their role? Like, Cody thought it was his role. Kenny thought it was his role. The Bucks thought it was their role. Then they've all come to agree. It was like, it can't all be us.
Yeah.
So it's now just Cody doing
One of us has got to lose, and the rest of us have to win because we're the best.
Yeah. But I thought this was a fantastic promo. So happy to see Jake. I really, it's proper fingers crossed. I hope this works out for them and works out for him. And I'm excited to see where we go from this next. Also, like it's a great use of legends, particularly if you've got legends that are very good at talking. It's why Tully in that all-out build for Cody worked so well with Shawn Spears. It's a shame that that's not really ever built to anything else. But it's a great use of these old wrestling minds that are kind of like helping the new generation get over and sort of like pass on their knowledge. Rather than winning the Universal Championship. And, to take a little shot, I think it's a really smart move.
Yeah, having Jake in the locker room, as long as he's not, having substance abuse issues, the knowledge and the experience he can give these guys.
Yeah.
And there is no one more in command of ring psychology and manipulating a crowd than Jake the Snake. Any documentary will tell you that.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
incredible.
really, really good stuff.
You've just got to get in dead close to hear him talk.
Pac versus Chuck Taylor was next with the Death Triangle debut.
Yep.
Then Shawn Spears and Tully Blanchard are looking for a tag partner.
Yeah, so they've been doing some tag partner stuff on Dark. And look, where this has fallen down, because I don't always get to catch up on Dark, but they have been doing, like, Tully's been looking for a tag partner for him. So his first choice was Peter Avalon. It's like, Tully, you're meant to be a tag team specialist, mate. You're meant to be a tag team genius. What are you picking Peter for? Yeah,
so they're trying to use social media, tweet in your ideas. I bet they'll have. It's an updated version of the I'll fight any of you in the crowd. Yep. Wrestler plant steps over. Oh, one of us just beat him.
I'm just going to do a quick search for it now. See how it's getting on. See who's being
What's
suggested.
What's the actual hashtag?
It's hashtag search for spears. It's not. Let's have a look. What's in latest? You carry on. I'll have a look.
I'm curious now.
I suggest John Cena.
He was there, wasn't he? Can't see him there.
Yeah.
Oh, there's a video. Is that a little show reel?
Yeah, Mr. Colorado Wrestling would make the perfect partner for the perfect 10. Big guns, Justin Andrews. This is how I'm actually hoping. Like, this is how they're doing it. It's just like, hey, wrestlers, send us stuff. We'll see if you got what it takes.
It's a work. I don't think they need to put a call out for wrestlers to send in their tapes.
Chris Banks is also getting involved.
I got sent a tape the other day.
Did you? Well, for who?
For a wrestler who wanted to work on the show. Really? And I was like, oh, we don't... I'll pass you on to the people who are booking stuff. But anyway, after that, we got QT Marshall versus Jake Hager. A very effective squash match.
Squash match. QT got to run wild a little bit, but it was never any actual issue for Hager. And he won with his rubbish submission move.
And Dustin and QT are now a tag team.
They are. They're entering into the tag team division. I don't know, it's a good use of Dustin. And yeah, Brandy was out there as well, the sort of like the Nightmare Family stuff. But this match for me was all about the post-match. Because afterwards, the Inner Circle get in, they start beating down QT, and Dustin gets in, so he starts beating down Dustin. And then Cody runs down to make the save. And Matt Jackson runs down to make the save. But they're both ineffectual. They keep getting beaten up because the numbers games get better of them. They did say during commentary that Nick Jackson and Kenny Omega are not currently cleared to wrestle because of the punishment they took during the tag match at Revolution. So they weren't going to be there. And then Hangman comes down, looking a little bit sort of tipsy, a little bit shaky as he's drinking his beer. And he slowly walks down to the ring. He gets into the ring, slowly puts down his beer. And there is a moment where the crowd are like, oh, he's taking too long.
Yeah.
I don't know what he's going to do here. And he starts laying waste to the Inner Circle. Crowd going nuts. Hager throws him to the outside, but he grabs onto the apron with a big like, whoa! Buckshot Lariat onto Jake Hager, runs while the crowd are going nuts, and he just looks at Matt Jackson and gives him the finger.
Yes.
Like right in his face, gives him the finger, grabs his beer and leaves.
Just fantastic.
Because I thought, like, when they had that said, I was like, well, he's just made the save. He's just saved Matt Jackson from a beatdown. What does that mean? And it means... I don't know what it means because he gave him the finger and left. So I still don't know where we all stand on this.
It's beautiful. It's so well told. Just incrementally, how they're drawing this out and keeping me so engaged week to week is fantastic.
Yeah, it's great.
I've got to think it's a blood and guts build. The Inner Circle and the Elite.
Yeah.
Surely those are the two factions you want going into that.
Oh, Death Triangle. We're finding out the rules for that next week.
Yes. But anything else in this part? No, it's just absolutely fantastic. Yeah, so Cody versus Ortiz is happening next week off of that beatdown. Death Triangle will have a match on the Blood and Guts rules. What are the rules?
And we've also got Jurassic Express versus MJF, Butcher and Blade.
Speaking of MJF.
Oh, he has been taking some lessons from old Jake the Snake about having 20 lines and you pick your 6 best.
Yeah.
Because he opened this up because he does what he does best. Pinning shoulders on mats and banging ring rats.
Brilliant. Ring rats, if you're not familiar, is the sort of slang wrestler term for women who hang around wrestling shows to have sex with wrestlers.
Yep, it's a big thing during the 1980s and probably into the 1990s as well. But yeah, he just talks about how he was right. He was the last chapter in Cody's book, but I've got more ink left for my legacy and how he's going to set himself up to be the #1 contender. He doesn't care who the champion is. He's just going to be the #1 contender to that championship, and he's going to win it. I'm going to be the greatest champion in AEW history. And then he's just like, oh, sorry, it's a bit hot in here. Can you give me a hand, Wardlow? Takes off his jacket to reveal he's wearing a t-shirt that says, I pinned Cody. And he's like, oh, look at this. What an arrogant and regrettable thing to have. Kind of like a neck tattoo.
Oh. The crowd popped hugely. And before that, they were booing him. They were giving him actual heel heat. The heels were getting booed. Perfect. And then we got the main event, which was Jericho and Sammy versus Mox and Darby. I've written it's the mini-me match. Because Sammy's like a tiny Jericho.
Yeah.
And Darby's like a tiny Mox. But Darby gets such a pop coming down to the ring. Of course, the stipulation is, if Moxley can walk out by himself, Jericho has to go away for 60 days.
Yeah.
So we're all thinking, Jericho's going away for 60 days. Mox makes his entrance, and as he's walking down, I clocked them, did you?
Yeah, I clocked them, yeah.
They were quite conspicuous. It was 3 guys in AEW hoodies wearing lucha masks, and they get up and they jump him.
The only reason I spotted them is because they would not act like every other fan who was going bonkers for Moxley. They were sat in their seats, and I thought, you miserable pricks.
Yeah.
And then it got up, and they were wrestlers.
And it's Hager, it's Santana, and Ortiz. They beat Moxley up on the outside, in the concourse area. No dipping dots, dunking dots, whatever it's called.
Dipping dots, I believe. We don't get them in the UK.
Hager did a much more effective choke, so Mox was completely out. I've seen a few people, not a lot of people, say, well, why wasn't Darby helping?
Yeah.
Well, he was being held back by Jericho and Sammy.
Yeah. And
that was quite clear.
And why didn't they save Moxley at the end? Which I think is a fair comment.
That one's more, yeah.
But really, the key to this is that Darby Allin looked at the referee and was like, well, I guess I'll have this match on my own then. He's not calling the match off, so I'm going to fight this 2-on-1. And what a star-making performance for Darby bloody Allin. I'm so glad you're now on board with this, on a skateboard with this, if you will.
Yeah.
Because he's great.
It's just absolutely incredible. Jericho working him over was really good. Sammy working with him really good. They built the hot tag to no one.
To himself, yeah.
Darby goes over to the corner, gets up, and he's like, there's no one there. So he tags himself. Darby tags himself. And then he just runs wild on everyone.
Yeah, it was absolutely incredible stuff. And do you know what was actually, I noticed this during the match as well. What was really cool about this is that it was Jericho was the one who was usually getting shown up by Darby, and then Sammy would jump in and get the heat back. It was Jericho was doing a lot to make Darby look amazing. And they had this incredible shot where you could see the fire in Darby Allin's eyes as he just stared this hole in Jericho. It was like, you mother effer, I'm going to kill you now. And he just had this incredible comeback. Tagged himself in, as you said, coffin drop onto all of the inner circle, the flipping stunner and the coffin drop to Sammy. Jericho broke that up, and he tried this dive, and Jericho perfectly timed a Judas effect to Darby as he flew through the air, and Sammy pinned him. An amazing performance from Darby Allin. Great stuff from their heels. I thought it was awesome.
Yeah. Initially I was like, oh, we're not getting Moxley. You advertise this. This is a bit, I guess it's what you do with storyline. But man, did they over-deliver to compensate for that storyline crutch. It was fantastic. And then at the end, because the stipulation was, if Mox can't walk out, what would happen? Nothing would happen to Mox.
Yeah.
Mox wanted Jericho gone for 60 days. So Mox walks down with a chair, takes out a few of the inner circle, but then the inner circle get the better of him, and they give him the Shield powerbomb off of the stage through a table, fist bump, and then give him the middle finger. Excellent.
It was really, really great stuff. I thought it was a really, really good show. The women's stuff is a massive, massive problem in AEW, and it's something that absolutely cannot be ignored. But overall, I thought this was a very, very good show.
It was a really good way to balance the babyface victories at the pay-per-view, kind of give the heels some heat back, I thought, overall throughout this show.
Particularly because Sammy and Jericho both lost at the pay-per-view.
And just as a TV program, I thought the structure around the ad breaks was perfect. So for the SEU Dark Order match, they let everyone have their entrances, go to break, come back, Dark Order make their entrance. There was no skipped entrances there. And you saw the heat. You saw people get worked over, then they go to ad break, then they come back, then they're still getting worked over, then they make the comeback. So you're not missing out huge, importantly dramatic parts of the matches themselves. And the crowd was standing up.
Yeah, crowd.
I noticed that at the end.
Yeah.
Like, when do you see a wrestling show with everyone leaning on the barricades in the front row opposite the hard cam anymore.
Yeah, crowd was so into this show. Yeah. This was a hot crowd.
Loved it. Really good episode.
All right, should we do some Patreon shout-outs, but also let's shout out to our moderators.
Yeah.
Because manning the Super Chats today is Tomo. And in the chat we've got Garage Art with a V, Les, Hawkeye, Jeremy Runner, and Dude Love. Or Dowd Love. Oh, no, they changed
the best.
The best.
Dowd. I love that Hawkeye, Jeremy Runner.
Yeah.
That's a great name.
But now, let's do some Patreon shout-outs.
Thank you for donating $25 a month or more to WrestleTalk on Patreon. You beautiful pledge hammers.
Indeed.
Luke's favourite fan.
Before we do, the poll is now up for WrestleTalk Extra. And currently in the lead, WrestleTalk Extra, if you don't know, it's our Patreon-exclusive podcast where we review old wrestling pay-per-views for like 4 to 5 hours at times. Currently winning the poll, it'll be a long one. It is WrestleMania 26. It's Dan's favorite WrestleMania. He's the one who suggested it. It's the one with Brett Vince.
But it is also Taker Michaels too.
It is that, but it's also a very, very boring show otherwise.
But thank you, Luke's favourite fan, the one, the only, the awesome Bubba.
Thank you. Kratos' forgotten son, Chris Petrell.
Yeah, thanks, Chris. Ryan be bad.
Always bad. Ooh. Don't have a Shane Cowley, man.
Yeah. The Beast, Brock Taylor.
Nice. The British Bulldog, Philip Boyd J. Smith Jr.
Yeah, thanks, Phil. The Mountain, Matthew Dennis.
What a mountain. Not your best friend, Neon Palette.
Yeah. He's no jackass, Dano.
Cheers, Dano. Oh, he's a very good boy. Pharaoh.
Oh, like Cody's dog. Rob Steiner, a Kleiner.
The man in the t-shirt.
Was in the crowd today.
And lastly, the man with the hammers, Infinite Crisis, Chris Jenkins.
Leroy Jenkins. He made this for us.
We've actually got a new one coming soon.
I know. I'm excited. Right, let's get on with your super chat.
Take us away.
K. Amal, SJ. Don't know what that is. Should have been We Are Trigonometry of Doom.
Trigonometry of Doom.
Doom needs to be the name of a faction. Sean Dunn, 2Cube.
Very good.
Smiling with sunglasses emoji. Rory the Right, Ted DiBiase Jr. to AEW leading the Pyramid Schemers. Was he involved in a pyramid scheme?
No, but he's a money man.
Nice. Tim Arndt, Shape Faction Names. Fantastic. Circle Jerks, Rectangles.
I like rectangles.
Yes, that
Tim,
sounds like a transformer.
Tim, you should have stopped there because you're never getting any better. I haven't read the rest of these yet, but I highly doubt you're going to do better than Rectrangle.
Trapezoid of Triumph.
No, still not as good as Rectangles.
Titanic Tetrahedron.
Still not as good.
Fair and Square.
Yeah, that's good.
Octagonal Occult. And the Siemens Sphere. Sure.
No, Rectangles was your best one there, mate.
House of Fury. Favourite name for a faction? The Killer Trifecta. Death Triangle by a different name. Nate Jop's surname. Matt Hardy faction should be the Broken Parallelogram.
Could be.
Nice. I'll pass you over to AEW related.
AEW rated. Colostopia. Seeing Jake put a smile on my face. Can't wait for Havoc, Janela, Darby, and Moxley to form Fun Square. AEW teaching geometry is next level genius.
You gotta learn.
Yeah. I did feel. I mean, yeah. So there was a video on AEW's YouTube channel today. There's Jimmy Havoc starting his next feud. And it's with Luther.
Oh.
And I was like, oh man.
I guess they're deathmatch legends, both of them.
Yeah, I don't know. Mythroll. Worst show of the year.
Wow.
Huge letdown off the back of the pay-per-view.
Oh, wow.
And website writer Louis Dangour, who usually watches NXT live on a weekly basis, he loved Revolution so much that he watched Dynamite this week instead. But he also didn't like the show. He was very let down by it.
I'd be interested to know why you didn't like it. Same with Louis.
Rory the Right. I liked the Big Swole match last night. AEW could fit a couple of these in per show for the women. It shows them off without exposing their greenness.
Yeah, that's the best use of it. Put more women on, give them a storyline, and give them more featured match as well.
I was going to say, that's it. You could just put more, you could put another squash match on there, but they don't really mean anything until you start building them towards something. And currently it feels like we're not building towards anything. Apex Predator. Looks like they're setting up for a trios title, yay or nay? Well, apparently that's what Kenny Omega and Chris Daniels said that's what they are going to do at the Jericho Cruise next year.
I would prefer another men's mid-card title first.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know why you would want a trios one. I've never really seen a trios one on the same show as a tag team division work. It's always the least important thing, but they love it.
Well, Nate Drop Surname has pointed out something we've all overlooked, which is now that Best Friends are feuding with Death Triangle, Orange Cassidy can get revenge. We can get Orange Cassidy versus Rey Fenix, Orange Cassidy versus Pentagon Jr. Ollie is going to have some kind of big one. I think we all will.
Oh, yes.
Orange
should have been Penta.
Orange Cassidy versus Pentagon Jr.
Yes, please.
Full of like the zero fear and him just looking at it with his hands in his pockets. Awesome. Zed, Page has Stone Cold vibes.
Yeah, I think Hangman Page plus Jon Moxley is Stone Cold.
Yeah. Fritz, Jericho says, if I lose, I leave for 60 days. Crowd responds, Fozzy sucks. I died of laughter at that reaction. They're also not wrong. James Handley, Britt was great. Should have challenged Swole.
Yeah, I'd be curious to see when Britt's actually going to start wrestling again.
Yeah.
It's been a while.
Vladimir Mamidapudi, it's amazing that for a lot of us, this would be our first time truly experiencing Jake Roberts in a relevant way. Truly amazing in 2020.
Yeah, well, hopefully he can stay that way.
Pavi led Andy Adams Cage. Seems like AEW are using Orange Cassidy to put over Phoenix, Pentagon, and Pac as the bastards. Never heard them get booed so much. OC versus Phoenix.
If you beat up Orange Cassidy, you're going to get booed. He's one of the most over things on the show.
Big Red-Eyed Machine. Was it me or did Jake the Snake mention being the leader of the Dark Order during his promo? No, he said, I'm going to bring a dark wand, a dark side to this. So he might, like, you could argue that he's alluding to being that, but I don't feel, I mean, unless they do it, you know, because he was meant to be the higher power at one point back during the Ministry of Darkness days, who was rumored to be. It was him, it was like, amazing to look back at this. The names listed, what Vince Russo has said, it was Jake the Snake, Cyrus, who was Don Callis, or Christopher Daniels.
Yeah.
Incredible at the time. You know, 1998, Christopher Daniels. Pavi led Andy Vince Cage. Cody put over Sammy. John puts over Darby. Cody gets a scar on his right eye. John gets a scar on the same side. Cody gets a neck tattoo. Oh no. Pavi led Andy out of his cage. Now that Colt Cabana is in AEW, Cabana versus CM Punk.
Confirmed. It's got to be.
Matt Robinson. I love watching AEW without commercials. Cody really gets the crowd going. Also want one of Brandy's apples.
Was she eating an apple?
Well, QT brings apples down to the ground, I guess. Matt Robinson also says, when you can't think this can get any better, you get Jake the Snake Roberts. Wow, classic wrestling gold.
How about that for a 2020 wild wrestling prediction?
Yeah.
Yeah, but I could not have predicted that.
The Zornese, alas, not enough shows for AEW women to get practice. There's independent shows. Like you can send them up, like they're only doing one TV show a week. You can send them off to do, like, and they're all getting indie bookings. So, yeah, there's almost no excuse there. Quinn Stewart, who do you guys see taking the title from Moxley down the line? Please don't just bloody win the thing.
Yeah.
I'd personally prefer to see a 6-month reign that leads to the Moxley-Omega rematch with Omega winning the title.
I think that's a really nice story to tell.
I like so too. Do you want to take over?
Yep, Pavi let Andy out of his cage. Did AEW drop Brandy with Awesome Kong?
They did, yeah. A number of weeks ago now, they made the announcement that the Nightmare, what were they called? Nightmare Collective. They were done. Brandy said, she did an interview with Brian Alvarez, said, it didn't work. Crowd didn't respond to it, so we're listening to the fans. We're not doing it anymore.
And Awesome Kong was too injured, really.
Matthew
Robinson, Hangman gets over because Americans love buying people beers. # all the beer in Colorado.
There was an amazing thing that Paige tweeted out today being like, it's kind of weird that I get like $100 worth of beers and people are just giving them to me. And I think it was Isaiah Cassidy from Private Party retweeted being like, you still owe me $12.
Red Dog. When I was a kid, the first thing I ever saw on a Saturday morning as Jake the Snake, his Cobra, and Macho Man. Fast forward, I'm turning 35 and seeing Jake made me pop like when I was a kid.
Hey, man.
That is a famous angle if it's the one I'm thinking of. And that's when Macho Man was tied up in the ropes and Jake's Cobra bit his arm. That's sort of regarded as like the Attitude Era before it became the Attitude Era, like 5 years ahead of its time. Scarred a lot of kids. Rory the Right. Jericho and Sammy are a perfect father and son duo.
Yep.
Mox and Darby. Pavi let Andy out of his cage. Was Hager, Ortiz, and Santana using lucha masks? I thought it was Dark Order masks. I thought Jericho would be the exalted one, making the inner circle the inner core of the Dark Order. It's all connected.
Yeah, it's like when the Ministry and the Corporation joined forces. No, they were just wearing general lucha masks.
Andy Malone. Anyone notice the words over Hangman's name? Whooped both of their asses. Lol. Fantastic Easter eggs during the introduction. Have a great day, guys.
You have a great day, Andy.
Myth roll. Too many teases for something big and no payoff. So that's why they didn't like the show.
But did they tease that something was going to happen on this show? Like that Hardy thing never said, I'm now going to be on the show. Like there was no teasers for a payoff on this show. It's not like they all said, hey, on the episode after Revolution, all of these things are going to happen. Like that with me, if like that had been the case, then yeah, that show completely undelivered. But they never teased something was going to happen on this show.
Yeah, and there was the tweet as well that was like, it is Wednesday, which a lot of people saw as a Brody Lee tease. But it also very much wasn't.
Yeah.
It could just be interpreted as it's Wednesday, Dynamite's on. So no, I think that's unfair to say that they tease stuff. I think that was your own expectations. Sometimes you've got to wait for these things to come to fruition. Juan R was there live and I loved it, except no Lance.
Yeah, so I wonder if there was a lot of confusion. I mean, I would imagine there was because we were confused. I thought there was. And when he didn't show up, but then that's why I went back to check last week's show to see if they did say he was going to be there. But I completely misread it last week.
Bobby Stevens. Anyone else notice the Bucks of Youth's number was saved as future in Matt Hardy's phone? Wonderful. There's so many Easter eggs there to dive into for that series. And Christopher Jazzcat, Pac is coming to Australia in June. I'm hyped, loving his work lately.
So
we got a boy from the Swaft under there.
Indeed. Shall I take over?
Yeah.
Matthew Robinson, happy to talk to WrestleTalk. Had a problem with my PayPal, but the real boss is back. Love you guys. This is just the best time to be a wrestling fan. Getting lapsed fans back into AEW.
Definitely. No other time like it. And in terms of AEW Dynamite, the quality of the last 6-7 weeks has been incredible.
And welcome back as well, Matt, as well. W. Adam Clark. Ollie, if Edge is confirmed for Mania, is it now the rated Yara superstar? Feel free to use that.
I will use that. Thank you very much, W. Adam Clark.
House of Fury. Any chance we'll see crap gimmicks in No Rolls Barred?
Me and Adam spoke about this on the... So No Rolls Barred went over the first Patreon milestone, which was to launch a podcast version of it. So, well, hey, that's going live this Saturday.
Well, I mean, it depends on how quick Apple can turn it around. So, like, all the infrastructure is in place because we got there way quicker than I think I was only expecting to. So, all the back end stuff is done. The first episode is going to be edited today, and that will go. But like, Apple Podcasts can sometimes take a week. It can sometimes take 24 hours. Apple are, they're a curious bunch. But it should be on Spotify very, very soon. So it will be like I'm hoping by Sunday we'll be able to launch episodes 1 and 2 at the same time.
Nice. Yeah, but me and Adam do a sort of intro and outro to it where we go through people's comments. And someone did say about crap gimmicks, and it's like we wanted No Rolls Barred to be its own thing at first. But that's not to say that we can't do crap gimmick stuff in the future. Plus, one of those Patreon tiers is that you can suggest characters. So you could suggest old crap gimmick ones.
Pavi Andy out of his cage. Do you think AEW is watching this channel and see how much you made fun of Baron's Midcard Vortex and decided to do their own, but just better?
I guess that's in relation to the Death Triangle.
Yeah.
Oh, I feel dirty calling them anything like a Midcard Vortex.
And North Strider, did you catch the Dance Chopper sign? We did. We talked about that at the start of the show. Sasha Poshny, thank you, GIF.
Thank you, Sasha.
Yeah. And a couple of last-minute super chats. Rocky Balboa, Pack of Death Triangle.
Pack of Death Triangle? What's that supposed to mean?
I'm not sure on that one. But thank you very much.
Yeah,
very generous donation. And Pavi let Andy of his cage. Since we compare AEW to NXT so much, look at NXT after a pay-per-view. The show is kind of boring. AEW after pay-per-view show is set up an entertaining 5 out of 5 for me.
Yeah, NXT still haven't gotten out of that rut of here's the takeover, here's 2 weeks of stuff we tape before the takeover.
And thank you to Jason for your donation and no message.
Thank you very much to everyone for your super chats and for tuning into today's episode. Please do support us, not just here, but at our first proper live wrestling show event. We're going to be doing a live podcast. Me, Luke, Laurie, Pete, and Adam live on stage. in London on the 16th of March. And then we're putting on a wrestling show, not a promotion. We're going to have promotions and wrestlers from all around the UK, some of our favourites and some of the best in there doing their stuff, and it's going to be awesome. So please do go over to WrestleTalkLive.com and get your tickets now. But for now, please click the videos that have just appeared on the desk to catch up with the latest awesome WrestleTalk things. This button right here, which will make you a pledge hammer on Patreon. I've been Ollie Davis. This has been Luke Owen, and that was wrestling.
Not going to swear this time.